FatPipe is my favorite product in the portfolio of every company I've ever worked for. So I've sold FatPipe behind the desk at Windstream, behind the desk at AT&T in the SP channel. I've sold FatPipe pretty much everywhere. And FatPipe is something that you can utilize in your solutions today to help your customer get a more efficient use of the WAN budget that they're spending. So if a customer has multiple links, we can aggregate multiple links. I'm going to get into all the details in a second. Let me kind of back up a little bit who we are. So we created and invented and deployed the first ever SD-WAN network. We did this back in the 90s for the FBI. Guess who's still our customer today? The FBI. Go figure. We maintained a really high profile customer like the FBI for all of these years. We've also picked up the DoD, the DOJ. We picked up pretty much all the major cities, state, local government, and there's a reason for that, because we do it better. We do it so much better. In fact, AT&T uses us to keep their call center up. For the last 18 years, we've kept them up without them ever dropping. They do have a lot of links, to be fair. It's not just the SD-WAN that makes it happen, but we aggregate it and make it happen for them. All right, so this is a Gartner review. We just made it to the Magic Quadrant. I have been like skipping around my house like a little kid on Christmas Eve, all about this, but this is kind of an older one here. As you can see, we got a 5.0 for product capabilities. That's because we can do things no one else did. Remember, we were the first to the space. So what did we do? We patented our technologies. In fact, we've got 13 patents. This is actually an old deck here. We've got 13 patents at this point. We can do things no one else can do. So things that you didn't think were possible in that space, they are possible, but they're only possible with us because we patented it to make sure of that. So the things that we do kind of better than anybody else is really related to the inbound load balancing, the way that we aggregate the traffic, the way that we encrypt the traffic. In fact, we're the only FIPS 140-2 certified in the space. FIPS 140-2 is the military grade for encryption. Part of the reason the US government uses us, also part of the reason your customers might want to consider. So from a security perspective, right, we're all concerned about breaches, we're all concerned about ransomware, we're all concerned about any kind of malware attacks. So one of the things that the FatPipe does that no other appliance in the marketplace does is it creates a flat network topology, meaning we're not going to pop your traffic to some third-party environment, our environment or anyone else's environment, and duplicate it. We're going to keep it all in your own network because our FatPipe can perform the role of the authoritative domain server on your premise, meaning that your customer's traffic never has to pop anywhere else. It stays in their hands. So it removes a giant vulnerability. Also, every single FatPipe has a built-in firewall. At the bare minimum, it's a stateful firewall. At the maximum, it can be a full next-gen firewall. So you have every bell and whistle of a next-gen firewall, you have all the aggregation, and all your traffic stays in your environment with the highest grade of encryption imaginable here in the US. Pretty awesome, right? All right, firewall features. I'm not going to bore you to death with all the little details of a firewall. Every next-gen firewall feature you need, we have it. Pretty simple when you look at it that way. One of the things that we do really well is we aggregate private links mixed with and diversified with dedicated internet. So you can take a traditional internet link, you can take a private link, and you can aggregate the traffic between them. The FatPipe's going to identify the packets on the internal side, so at the enterprise data center, or the branch location, or even the cloud environment. It's going to identify the packets, it's going to tag them, and it's going to deliver them to the right endpoints after encrypting them and transversing them over the network. If one of those links was to drop, any one of those links, no worries, the FatPipe is going to catch that traffic, and it's going to deliver it to its correct place over the existing links. When we have multiple links to choose from, we're going to distribute the traffic over the multiple links. So we're going to encrypt it, we're going to break it down, we're going to deliver it over the multiple links so that in order to get it to the other side, you're going to have a more secure transition. So we're going to de-encrypt it on the other end of the bookend and deliver it to the customer. So this is what typical topology looks like today, right? We've come to this environment now where the cloud is necessary. Everyone's got resources in some kind of cloud, whether it's a hybrid cloud or a full mesh cloud, or maybe it's a blend of the two. So we've got private services, we've got wide area network delivered as if it's a local area network using SD-WAN. This is really what's changing the space today. We've got people working from home that need to be connecting securely and privately, and they can't risk the traffic. They can't risk the intel and the data. Another really cool thing about being able to do that stuff in the device versus outside in a POP is we reduce the overall latency on the topology because we don't have that extra hop. Take a hop out, you've got more latency back in your equation. So this is us up against one of my competitors. We're at the top. As you can see, in this lab study done by Ring Central, they deployed a dual link, and on that dual link they put my competitor, who I won't name. It's definitely not a Velo, and it's definitely not in a cloud, but maybe it is. And they deployed that solution on one end, and they deployed FatPipe in another, transfers to call, and then they gauged the call as they applied latency to the call. So as you can see, we maintain the green zone all the way to the end. Correct, proper call. But my competition, at the very end, they're in the yellow, right? SpongeBob SquarePants is yellow too. In a pineapple, under the sea. That's how that call sounds. It's a garbly call. So in a professional environment with the exact same latency projection, we're able to keep the call afloat. That's that AT&T call center. We've kept them up for quite a few years now. But you can see the way that we build this, we're using their private network services, their MPLS services, in conjunction with DIA services and multiple routes, diverse routes, to bring it all back to make sure that the call is never disconnected. So if you have customers that are complaining that they're dropping calls and they're having call issues, call quality issues, even for remote home office users, we can resolve these issues. This is all manageable stuff. We even have a home office appliance that's $39 a month. It is amazing. It makes sure that my kid's Xbox doesn't kick me off of my WebExes. It's really awesome. All right, so this is how we optimize traffic. WAN optimization is like the best way to get the most bang for your buck. If you've got a demand for WAN, then you want to reduce it to the minimum amount so you can transverse it for less cost. As you can see, second runs gives a much better yield. We have a couple different packages. I'm not going to bore you to death with the details. That's something we can do in a live call. The Pro package is one I do want to talk about because it has our SD-WAN with the smart DNS solution on it. That's that inbound load balancing. So what we're able to do in this solution is a little different. I don't know will I be heard if I come over here? You guys still hear me in the back? If I project? All right, so the FatPipe's here aggregating between three ISPs. So you've got ISP 1, ISP 2, and ISP 3. You've got incoming traffic coming from this endpoint, this computer. Typically what's going to happen is that computer is going to go to the ISP's DNS, and then it's going to go to the root name server to authenticate the location of this DNS server back here behind the firewall, right? Once it makes that first click, the FatPipe then can hold that session and transverse it over any one of those links. So if that primary link that it came in on drops or the router fails or anything goes down, we can keep the session up. We can migrate that to another IP. We can use rotating IP support to make that happen without re-authenticating back to the root name server. So if you're in a Citrix session, if you've ever been in a Citrix session before, you know what I'm talking about. All of a sudden, your Citrix session drops and you're reconnect. You can't get it to connect right away. If you had a FatPipe sitting in front of all that environment, that wouldn't happen. So if your customer has a FatPipe in their environment, they're going to save a lot of time and they're going to save a lot of frustration. And the IT support desk is going to love you for putting that FatPipe in play. So because we're not duplicating traffic, that means that your paths are available for other traffic use. So in this example, you've got a FatPipe on one end and you've got a competitor on the other. As you can see, the FatPipe's utilizing line 1 for the primary traffic, and because we can migrate traffic in flow from one link to another, like no one else can, we don't have to duplicate that traffic. So line 2 is available. Line 2 is wide open. You could have a whole nother session transversing on line 2. And then the FatPipe will identify if a link drops. It'll give the remaining bandwidth to the QoS assigned link. So the traffic, if the traffic is the mission critical traffic, it's going to take the priority of the bandwidth. And whatever's not the priority bandwidth will be, or the priority application will be transversed in the remaining space that's available for it. My competition has to use both of your links full time to deliver a duplicated session, meaning that you're paying for 2 links, but you can only use 1 at a time. So the FatPipe environment is just a more efficient use of the bandwidth. Every FatPipe gives you visibility into your network. You can see every application that's transversing. You can see who's using what at what times. You can see a wide area network on a global scale. All of that analytics comes back to you as an admin or back to your customers, whoever the admin is in that group. You have the ability to see where your investment dollars are going. You can also use that intel to go back into the WAN optimization piece and optimize specific things. If you see that your company's got a massive use on LinkedIn or whatever it is, you might want to change the prioritization of that in your QoS tree. All right, so reliability. One of the really amazing things that we do is we're able to give our customers a 99.999 uptime guarantee, because with a fab pipe, we're able to aggregate up to 15 incoming links, up to 100 gigs of throughput. Yeah, 100 gigs of throughput. We used to be 40, and then I had an opportunity out of Miami with AT&T. It's a massive organization that needed, they're a streaming media company, and they needed 100 gigs of throughput. And so in theory, we thought we could do it with software, but we didn't have any hardware that could facilitate it. So I brought this ask back to my team, and within 3 weeks, we had developed it, we had put it together, put the box together, and shipped it out. So now we can do up to 100 gigs of total throughput, up to 15 incoming links. We can do a greenfield or a brownfield deployment. We can do a zero-touch deployment on top of that. Very, very simple to use, very simple to deliver. My team, back to the white glove, the white glove concept that Blue Line's doing, we could facilitate a white glove development. Every single deployment, my team's gonna hold the hand of whoever the admins are on that account. Get them through the whole process. We can reduce the total cost of ownership by reducing the WAN need, because we're not running that duplication. Remember, we're doing it with half the bandwidth of everybody else. Scalable. For large IT, it says most stable with 18 years. We're way more than 18 years. This is an old slick. Sorry, guys. We have a software version as well as a hardware version. I kind of hinted at that earlier when we were originally launching that 100 gig. So you can pick up a software version. You can put it on your instance in Azure or AWS or wherever it is that your client has an environment. Or you can take the traditional hardware version, put it right on your edge, whether that's a brick and mortar facility, a traditional office building, or a data center. We have last mile relationships with all the major providers. They all use us. The security is second to none, right? So we've got the full stack of security here. And then obviously we're able to facilitate those multi-cloud environments. All right, prioritization. This is kind of cool. If you're not exposed to this before, the fab pipe can take that incoming traffic and that randomized traffic, and it can sort it. It's basically going to play traffic cop. It's going to sit on the edge, it's going to prioritize your data, and it's going to deliver it over the ISPs as they perform to the need of that application. So you can get very granular. You can put in a threshold for performance requirement on each application. So you can use the fab pipe to determine which applications are transversing on your network. And then once you know what applications are transversing, you can customize the need for each of those applications. And the fab pipe is going to grab that traffic at the edge, and it's going to assess it based on the parameters which you've set. So if you've set a parameter that says your VoIP traffic can't take a performance of milliseconds of latency in excess of 5 milliseconds, it's not going to transverse that traffic under a link that doesn't perform at least at that minimum threshold you've set. So you can set performance minimums to make sure that your calls are always clear, your sessions are always what they're supposed to be, and then you can take the traffic that's not mission critical and kind of leave it in the background to take whatever's left. So if you have an underperforming link, you're always going to have an overperforming session. We can do site-to-site load balancing. So if you have data centers or corporate headquarters locations that have a stack, a server rack, and maybe there's a similar stack in another location, we can load balance that traffic to them and distribute it. We can also do server-to-server load balancing to make sure that not one single server has a problem taking on more traffic than others. Application-based QoS, we already got into that. No drop voice calls, no disconnected sessions. Selective encryption, this is kind of fun. So we can actually identify if the traffic's already encrypted and then just let it pass as vanilla traffic so that it takes up less latency and overhead on the network. We get like a 40% reduction in bandwidth need when we do that. It's kind of cool. This is smart DNS in play right here. So you can see you've got a data center at the top, you've got a disaster recovery on the bottom. They're fully synced. The fat pipes are communicating with each other. The inbound sessions are being identified. If one of those links coming in or one of those data centers were to go offline, the end users would never know the difference. It would all seamlessly self-heal. And that's the beauty of the fat pipe. The customers don't have to get in and get involved. There's no manual integration needed. Everything's going to happen seamlessly in the background for them. A couple different tiers of service here. Some of our bragging rights, some of our bigger customers. You guys might have heard of a few of these guys, huh? This is one of my favorite use cases. Whether you like the Cowboys or not, there's a lot of people in this stadium. There's a lot of things happening. You've got private sessions that are occurring. You've got POS sessions that are occurring. You've got the actual teams themselves. Then you've got everyone sitting in the stadium, right? This is a high availability environment. If any one of these elements was to ever go down, it would be just hugely, hugely financially impactful. The amount of money that they make by broadcasting is ridiculous. The amount of advertising that goes into this. So we need to keep them up every single day, and we do. So we did this in collaboration with AT&T, and as you can see, I've got these branch locations over here on the side here. I've got 2 corporate locations. I've got a data center and a headquarters. I've got a managed ASEOD. So managed ASEOD with AT&T, this is what it looks like for us. We've got an AT&T NOC supporting the customers. We've got a FatPipe NOC supporting the customers. If any of these links are to ever go down, both of these NOCs are communicating with each other, troubleshooting the situation, starting the ticketing process, all behind the scenes, all for the customer. And the pricing is phenomenal. I can't release it to you yet, but it is insane in the membrane. Like cheaper than we used to pay for a 100 meg circuit. You're getting 100 megs of private internet with full 100 megs of internet as well. So you've got an ASE on demand network at the top. Both of these are linking out to it, as well as the internet offload. I've got 2 locations that were off net for AT&T, so we're using a third-party NI to deliver in DIA links to those. But you're going to see every single one of these locations are only going to have one IP. And they're still going to have the ability to use private internet, or I'm sorry, to use private network as well as public peering internet. The FatPipe is going to deliver the whole solution, and it's going to route to the double VLAN. We're the only ones that can do that. And they're also going to have the firewall and the security features enabled as well. So this kind of solution is now possible for a fraction of what it would cost years ago. Each one of these endpoints, their total network services, it's like less than what you pay for a 100 meg service, and they're getting a private network as well as an internet network, all delivered through FatPipe and AT&T double stack. I see you have a question, don't you?
I was just asking, is FatPipe rebuilding the AT&T service so that it's on FatPipe paper?
No, everything's on, well, in this solution, and that AT&T managed solution, that's an AT&T product. We're just the power behind it.
So AT&T is rebuilding FatPipe?
AT&T is not billing FatPipe at all. AT&T is billing the customer, FatPipe is billing AT&T. We're basically selling it to AT&T at wholesale. Yeah, and the customer is interfacing only with AT&T. So you can sell us on AT&T, you can sell us on Windstream, you can pretty much everybody, you can sell us. But AT&T, this is a solution that was put together specifically for them. And I know you guys do a lot of AT&T in this market, but it doesn't have to be AT&T. You can take AT&T out of this equation. In fact, let's take AT&T out of the equation and let's do it with my good friends at Comcast, right? We can build in those third-party links all with Comcast. It just wouldn't be that ASE on demand. It wouldn't have that flexible ability to dial into the portal and make those changes on the fly. This is where it gets fun. I don't expect you to know everything about FatPipe. You can't know everything about FatPipe, right? FatPipe is complicated, it's complex. I've sold it from the outside for years before I even came to the company. I've been here for 2 years and I still learn something new every day. And these aha moments occur all the time when I'm on a call. So I don't expect you to know everything about AT&T or, sorry, not AT&T, about FatPipe. What I expect you to know and everything about, though, is your customer, right? So if you have a customer opportunity, you think it might be a good fit, call me up, let's spitball it, let's talk about it. And if it does make sense, let me jump on a bridge with them or let me come and sit and meet with them. Every time you bring me a new logo customer for a presentation, we give you $25. I know it's not a lot, but it can stack up, right? So you can make money even before the customer signs and is sold. Even if they never sign and they never sign up with us, you still get money for bringing them to us. So for letting us have that opportunity to speak with your customer, we can spitball it beforehand, we can brainstorm it, we can whiteboard it, we can make all of those decisions and make sure that you're comfortable first. But if you are, if I present to them, you get that. And then if we win the deal, we've got a 2 times MRR spiff through the rest of the year. So as long as it's a new logo, we'll give you 2 times up front, plus whatever your comp package will pay you out on your monthly residual. And then you get the $25 customer presentation for every single one you bring. Any questions? I know I went pretty fast, huh? It's a lot of information. I really don't expect you to understand it all or remember it all or process it all, but I would love to talk more. If there's any time that you want to sit down and grab a WebEx or a Zoom or a lunch or a cocktail, any of those things, I'd be happy to sit and talk to you. All right, thanks so much. Appreciate it.